Hello, my fellow courtroom companions. This is Tamara, your other courtroom companion. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you the 10 ways to lose a custody case. One caveat here is that these rules that I'm about to share with you of things not to do are really just rules for good parenting in general. So you shouldn't be doing these things or these behaviors anyway as a good parent. So if you are doing them, though, I would encourage you to stop, especially during a custody case, because they impact the children. Even more so when their lives are going through a change like a divorce or a separation. So let's get right to it. So the first way to lose a custody case is to continuously point out the flaws in the other parent. As a parent, we all have flaws. We know we have flaws. We're not perfect. But if you're continuously putting your energy into pointing out the other parent's flaws, the energy is misdirected. Your energy should be placed in being a good parent yourself. Concentrate on what you're doing as a parent and spend less energy and time thinking about what the other parent is doing or not doing. So if you're finding yourself constantly pointing out the flaws to your children about the other parent, that child is part of that other parent. And so they're going to think something is wrong with them if, in fact, that you're constantly pointing out the flaws in the other parent. You are tarnishing the image that you want your children to have about the other parent. They need both of you. So the more energy you can put into yourself as a parent, the better off the children are going to be. So here's a trick. If you find yourself saying something in front of your children, pause and think about what else you could be doing. So maybe you could call a friend and share that with, or maybe you can find an activity for a future date for you and your child. Do everything that you can to focus on being a good parent and less time and energy thinking about what the other parent is doing or not doing. The second way to lose a custody case is to not share important information about the children with the other parent. And a good rule of thumb there is share what you yourself would want to know. So, for example, if you are going to take the children on a hike, that's not necessarily something you need to share because you're just having some fun times with your child. However, if you're going to take your child bungee jumping, you might want to let that other parent know. That would be something that maybe you would want to know yourself. So also, you want to share information about school, like assemblies coming up or award ceremonies, or, if the child is doing poorly in math, share that information with the other parent. Now, I realize that some of this information I'm sharing may overlap with legal and physical custody, and that's another video. We can talk about that in another video, but this is just really good parenting, and I realize that there can be differences with legal and physical custody, so I'm aware of that as well. But just share anything with the other parent that you yourself might want to know. The third way to lose custody is to not allow the children to talk to the other parent when they're with you. It's really good to keep the other parent connected to the child. And as a good parent, you want to stay connected with your child too when they're with the other parent. So it's kind of like treat them how you want to be treated. So if your children want to talk to the other parent, allow them to talk to the other parent. And I'm not saying that it has to be, every single time they want to talk to the other parent, because you're entitled to have time with them as well. But if they want to talk to them a few times a week, go ahead and let them. It really should be based on, the children asking. But if your children has not asked to talk to the other parent, encourage them to do that. It's really good to keep them connected. That's what's best for your child. And I realize that there might be some parents with some really deep issues, and maybe it's not safe to do that. So if your other partner is, has a drug problem or an alcohol problem or some other deep issue, I'm not saying encourage that relationship during that time when that parent is obviously not trying to recover or trying to get help for themselves. But I'm just talking about a good rule of thumb. If the other parent is just, a good parent, maybe not a good partner to you, but a good parent, then I would encourage you to let the children talk to the other parent. The fourth way to lose a custody case is to tell the children's counselor or medical professionals, doctors or coaches or any other adult in the child's life not to talk to the other parent. That's not what's good for the child. And here's why. So if the child is with that other adult, maybe it's a coach or a course teacher or something, and that person shares something with that adult, the child shares something with that adult, and that child happens to be in the physical care that week of the other parent, you're putting that other adult in a position of not knowing what to do. So that adult needs to know that they can share information with either parent, and you want to encourage those relationships. You don't want to put any adults in the child's life in an awkward position of not knowing what to do, because that's not what's in the child's best interest. It should remain flawless with the other people in the child's life. The fifth way to lose custody is to not make the child's school or the child's schooling as a top priority. The child should not be skipping school, missing school for any reason other than doctor appointments. The child needs to be doing homework and doing science projects, and the child needs to know that you are encouraging all of that. The child should not feel like just because they're going through a separation or divorce in the family that they are not going to be consistent with their schooling. There's enough upheaval during a divorce for children that you want them to feel like school is going to stay consistent. So make it a priority with them. If they have homework, make the time to do the homework with them. The sixth way to lose custody is to pull the children away from anything that's familiar to them. If your children are in course or music lessons or the 4-H club or Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, don't pull them out of those activities just because the family's going through a divorce. Those activities are going to help the kids stay grounded if they can hold on to some things during a divorce. If you're getting a divorce, you pull them out of Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, you stop their music lessons, they stop doing the things that they enjoy. That's going to be much, much harder on them going through this divorce in the family. So try to keep as much consistency in those other activities as you can. The seventh way to lose custody is to make the child or help the child to hate the other parent. You don't want to do that. They need both of you. And trying to tarnish the relationship with the other child, with the child and the other parent, is not in it's not in the child's best interest or the children's best interest. You want to encourage that relationship if at all possible. And again, I'm not saying do that if the parent is unhealthy or unsafe to your child, but in general, good rule of thumb is to encourage the relationship. If you hear your child talking badly about the other parent, try to point out that that's not a good thing to do, and to try to boost the other parent up in front of your child. Now, that might be hard to do if you have a lot of anger towards the other parent, and I would encourage you to go to therapy to kind of work on that so that you can do this for your child. I always try to think about, when my child is 25 years old, what do I want them to think about my role as a parent during the time of the divorce? And I want my child to think, wow, I never heard my mom talk about my dad. Or every time I wanted to talk badly about my dad, my mom wouldn't allow me to do that. She didn't try to run him down in front of me, those kinds of things. So I always think about, like, what do I want my child to feel like at 25? I don't think about in the moment. I try to think beyond that, because what's most important for me is that my child is a healthy adult and can have healthy relationships later on in life. And so that's what I always think about, and that really helps me to be able to boost the other parent up. The eighth way to lose custody is to use your child as a mail delivery service, whether that be to communicate verbally, tell your dad this or tell your dad that, or tell your mom this, tell your mom that, or send actual mail to the other parent. That's not the child's job. The child is going through enough in a custody case that you don't want to put that extra burden. Keep all the adult stuff away from the kids. That's what's best for them. They want to be kids. They want to love both parents, and they want to be free to love both parents. So do your best to not use them as a mail delivery service. Other things too around that area is, let's say your child has an activity that they want to do over a weekend when the child is going to be with the other parent. As the parent who receives that information, your job is to call or email the other parent and say, hey, I just learned about this activity. It's going to be on your weekend. How do you want to handle it? don't use the child to deliver that to the other parent. It's not their job. So that's just a good rule of thumb, to just don't send any information through the child, whether it be verbal or written. The 9th way to lose custody is to use your children as an emotional support arm. If you need that kind of support, again, you should go to therapy, get a counselor, get a good group of friends, go to a church, find a group of people that you can lean on during this time. Your child is not there to be your emotional support. It's too big of a burden for them to carry. It's inappropriate. It keeps them from having healthy relationships later. So don't make the child feel like when they're going to the other parents, they have to worry about you by being by yourself. Don't say things to them like, I don't know what I'm going to do without you here, or, I don't know why you want to go to your father's or your mother's house. That person is XYZ. Don't do any of that. Your child, when it's time to go to the other parent, needs to think about just that, going to the other parent. They don't need to worry about you. So again, if you need that kind of support, which many of us have had to do during a divorce and custody case, but I encourage you to seek that elsewhere, not through your child. The 10th way to lose custody is to do any of these things, but then lie to your attorney about doing them. And here's why. Because if the other parent is working with an attorney and they show evidence that you're doing any of these things and you've told your attorney you haven't done those things, that's going to catch your attorney off guard, and that will lose your case for sure. So if you're doing any of these things or have done any of these things, share that with your attorney so that your attorney can mitigate it. But again, these are 10 rules to follow, just good parenting in general, but especially during a custody case. Put your children first. Put their needs above your own. Put your children's needs above your hate or dislike for the other parent. They may have been a horrible partner or a horrible spouse, but they still might be a good parent. And so your child needs them to be a good parent, and you want to do all that you can to encourage that relationship. So those were the 10 rules to follow. I hope they were helpful to you. And if you like this kind of content, please just leave a comment below. Please do hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you here. And this is Tamara, your courtroom companion, and I'll see you next time. Take care.